Sripada Sharanam Prapadhye. Chapter 43. The description of Anagha Lakshmi, the Vaishnava Maya of Sripada. Sri Bhaskara Shastri, after completing his worship for the night, said, Sirs, devoted worship of Sri Vidya is supreme. In fact, Sripada Srivallabha is the embodiment of Maha Saraswati, Maha Lakshmi, and Maha Kali. I said, Sir, Sripada is called an incarnation of Sri Padmavati Venkateshwara. You are now telling that he is also the three mothers? He is also described as being accompanied with Anagha Lakshmi. I do not understand anything. Kindly explain in detail the cosmic form of Sripada. Sri Bhaskara Shastri said, Sirs, it is said that God is there in all living beings. It is said that He pervades everything from an ant up to Parabrahma. He is immanent in all creation in the form of creation. It means that he is in the consciousness of all living organisms. That is the speciality of this incarnation. Even though he exists as all living beings in this creation, his touch will not be experienced by them. That is nothing but his Vaishnava Maya, the illusion by Vishnu. He would say that one should respect the relations, limits, and the rules related to them. When we say that he is in the forms of Maha Saraswati, Maha Lakshmi, and Maha Kali, it means that he is that consciousness which expressed itself in those forms. Through his yoga Maya, he is constantly identified with those entities. When he identifies with the consciousness of Maha Saraswati, he will also be in a state of oneness with the related four-faced Brahma. Nevertheless, he will not have any link of touch with either the Mahasaraswati or the Hiranyagarbha forms. It is also mentioned that a single Atma emerges in four or five masculine forms. The Shakti principle of that Atma may be born in four or five feminine forms. The relation between one male form and one female form is decided by fate, and its limitations should be followed strictly. In the same way, he is Anagha, accompanied with his consort Anagha Lakshmi. That is his form of Ardhanarishwara. However, in the form of Sripada Srivallabha, he is in the form of a hermit. He enjoins that the relations and limitations of the forms with attributes are to be strictly followed. This is a subtlety of dharma. Dharma is different and subtle dharma is different. To shower his divine grace abundantly, he exists in the form of creation. Since he is in a state of identification with the creation, it will mean that the progress of the humans will be accelerated. Sripada is absorbed in japa, meditation, and penance. He will not keep the result from his penance for himself. He donates it to the entire creation. He uses the fruits of his penance for saving his devotees from sorrow and diseases and releases them from the shackles of karma. The four forms of Jagannatha, Mahasaraswati, Mahalakshmi, Mahakali, and Sri Rajarajeshwari, got manifested for the revelation of divinity and for the administration of the universe. Ambika has three levels: transcendental level, universal level, individual level. Prior to the actual creation, Parashakti remains in the transcendental level. After attracting infinite realities of Paramatma and after the entry into her consciousness, she takes birth as creation of the universe. Her work is not completed with the creation. She creates all living beings. She sustains them within her. She enters into them and strengthens them. This is her universal level, the real image of Anagha Lakshmi. At the individual level, she exists as an intermediary between the human personality and the divine nature. That is the secret in the advent of Anagha Lakshmi form. She makes some potencies of her prime nature to incarnate. When the work to be carried out by those potencies is completed, she again attracts them into her prime nature. Without the will of Anagha, Anagha Lakshmi will not do even a small task. She fulfills the will of her Lord. Since she exists as both father and mother in the form of Sripada Srivallabha, grace will be plenty to the devotees of Sripada. Anagha Lakshmi mainly has three planes. The good, wise, and happy plane belongs to the para state. The worlds here are filled with infinite existence, infinite power, and infinite heavenly happiness. The souls in that state live in indescribable perfection and in changeless oneness. Below this Sachitananda plane, there exist worlds belonging to the comprehensive heavenly consciousness. Anagha Lakshmi dwells in them as the Mahashakti of divine consciousness. This world was described in the Vedas as Maharloka. In these worlds, actions will not meet with failure. In every endeavor, the powers of will and wisdom effortlessly attain perfection. All experiences there are perfect oceans of bliss. Floods, tides, untruth, pain, and misery cannot enter there. Every form, every move, and every experience will be filled with joy. Below this is the plane of ignorance. Ignorance exists in our worlds. The worlds here are filled with mind, life, and bodies. All the experiences here are subjected to imperfection, limitation, and failure. The glory of Rajarajeshwari. The consciousness of Mother Rajarajeshwari is boundless mercy. She considers all as her children. The dark group belonging to the Pranamaya and Manomaya planes are called Asuras, demons. They have self control, penance, and intelligence. They are arrogant. The dark group belonging to the lower Pranamaya plane are called Rakshasas. They have terrible and extreme ideas and powers. In the still lower Pranamaya plane, other varieties of creatures live. They are called Pishachas, devils, and Pramadas, servants of Shiva. The Maya of Asuras can assume any disguise. In fact, Pishachas are not individuals. They are the formation of shapes without minds of desires and greedy wishes. Rakshasas have a very strong pranamaya state. They do not have a mind. They try to devour whatever comes in their sight. The forms of Asuri, Kali, Shyama, and Maha Kali. Kali, Shyama, and other forms are visible to us through Pranamaya Shakti. Kali is a destructive force. She is nature's power of ignorance that chops everything into pieces in the dark and blind struggle when troubles overwhelm us. However, Maha Kali belongs to a higher plane. She generally appears in golden hue. She is dreadful to Asuras, whereas Rajarajeshwari represents the power of discernment. Mahakali represents strength and power. In that great mother, the overwhelming ferocity also shines with great intensity of thought, which is necessary for achieving the divine cruelty to destroy every obstacle that comes in the way. That which resides in Kali Shakti proceeds with terrible speed and will not keep quiet till we set our foot on God Himself. It will stop with quarrel and distraction. However, Mahakali is different. When we come across the obstacles beyond our capacity and the forces hindering our progress become dominant, the devotee should invoke the Mahakali Shakti into himself. The forms of Mahakali, Mahalakshmi, and Mahasaraswati at the level of the spiritual aspirant. Mahalakshmi is filled with the radiance of beauty. To achieve the power of discernment and strength, beauty is required. It means that without it, perfection cannot be achieved. Regardless of our own evaluation of our achievement, it means that at some level a sort of equilibrium state will be formed. We feel that it is perfection in that state. But if we go to a higher level, we will come across some new powers and new situations. A fresh state of equilibrium to suit them will be formed. In that state, a completeness or perfection is formed. Therefore, Mahalakshmi is the symbol of complete perfection. If perfection is discernment is achieved but not in strength, it cannot be called perfect fulfillment. Therefore, at complete perfection, four features prevail with their respective appropriate shares. That is, the power of discernment, strength, beauty, and completeness. Amicability between divinity and beauty is a mystery that cannot be known to a man. This beauty is spread all over the universe. Only by the grace of Mahalakshmi, so many articles, forces, and living beings of infinite variety meet each other. All will then become unified. This state of oneness gives happiness. Mahalakshmi molds the different articles, forces, and living beings as hers forms and types. Mahalakshmi is the presiding deity of great love and bliss. However, Lakshmi represents only the collection of material objects. Mahalakshmi is the great power that shapes material objects, physical forces, and earthly beings aptly into a harmonious divine bliss and thus bestows divine life. But if the power of Anagha Lakshmi is to function fully, one should, in addition to the power of discernment, strength, and beauty, also have skill. Vedas mention about Mother Saraswati. She is called Udgita in the Upanishads. She is called Matangi in the Dashamahavidyas. She is connected with Vaikari speech. However, Mahasaraswati is different. She represents divine dexterity and actions of the consciousness of the soul. By the mercy of this great mother, we will obtain efficiency in conducting activities and will know how to use the divine knowledge. We will learn how to apply the consciousness of the soul in life. We will also know how happiness can be derived by the coordination of many powers. Utmost care in all things that are far away from transformation and perfection, even in small matters, belong to Maha Saraswati. My dear, bliss is a matter related to the Supreme Lord Parameshwara, but a yogi experiences ecstasy. One who has no desires gets joy. Comfort is within the reach of all, but unavoidably sorrow also accompanies it. The forms of Anagha Devi and Anagha. Lakshmi Devi is the form of Sri Anagha Devi. She possesses all the qualities of Rajarajeshwari, Maha Lakshmi, Maha Kali, and Maha Saraswati. Sri Anagha's form is that of Vishnu. He has all the qualities and powers of Parameshwara and the Trinity. Therefore, the worship of Anagha along with Sri Anagha Devi confers all-round well-being. Anaghastami Vrata should be performed by all Datta devotees. By performing Anaghastami Vrata, you will attain all auspicious things. The greatness of Sripada and the greatness of Datta devotion. My dear Anagha, along with Sri Anagha Devi, incarnated on earth in the form of Sripada Srivallabha. He is physically, mentally, and spiritually very close to the consciousness of all living beings. He is Smartrugami. That means he responds immediately when remembered or called. He is omnipotent in removing the troubles and losses of all his devotees and dependents and grants them comforts in this world as well as in other worlds. The result derived from worshipping the Dashamahavidyas will be immediately received by worshipping Datta, who has incarnated in the form of Sripada Srivallabha. One certainly gets good results by worshipping different deities. By worshipping Datta, one gets such results immediately. This is possible because Datta is the combined form of all deities. He is the incarnation of all four yugas, and he is the glorious incarnation without end. The glory of Sripada's Charitaamrutam. My dear Shankara Bhatt, this great secret book, the Sripada Srivallabha Charitaamrutam, written by you, will also be studied by great yogis and great persons. They will try to understand it with the help of the grammar of the Sandhya language. The yogic experiences derived by them will be very strange. If men in the physical plane make a devoted reading of the Sripada Srivallabha Charitaamrutam, they will obtain comforts and auspicious developments of this world and the other worlds as well. Every letter of this book is true. Every letter in this is filled with yogic power. Every letter is endowed with the power of Bijakshara, power of a seed letter. In whichever language the devoted reading of this holy book is made, the same kind of result is granted. It is the letter form of that Mahaprabhu, great Lord. श्रीपादराजं शरणं प्रपद्ये.